Now in Nigeria we have about 527 languages. We have about 500 and what? And 27 languages in Nigeria. That's huge, is it not?
Yes, sir.
But how many languages do you know? Not speak. Do you know? Can you name? Out of the 527. It's language. You also speak it in Nigeria. So none of you can name 10 of the now, so it's not very good actually as students of language, because they are all students of language. Some of you are communication and language arts, some of you are linguistics, some of you are English students. And some of you, if you are not above 30, and if DFC is serious with, I don't know, the people that will used to know whether they are serious with it, I think they are in 400 level now. It's going for service. So by the time they get to 500, go. So for some of you who go for service that are not yet 30 more, plan will reduce age from 30 to 22. You know what? You have interest in serving because you want to go and marry. It's not about marriage, it's about what? You don't just like to serve. I want you to take one of that by one dollar sales. And when people say that they are looking 40 already, you mentioned certain persons. On go be where? Anyway, I'm just joking. Now, when you go for service, you find out that there are many languages in communities that you are not aware of and that you don't even know about at all. So this course gives you information. What it does is basically to give you what? Information. This course draws from about 2 or 3 fields. It draws from linguistics, it draws from mathematics, and it draws from geography. Or let me say it draws from linguistics, fine arts, and geography. Because we'll be talking about map. Are you following me? Talking about map, you have to draw map. I don't know how you could do, what do you call it? How you could do visual arts and social studies, and you're not able to draw the map of Nigeria. Are you following me? Yeah? So your own is straight, have you? Totally, so this is a picture. Yeah. You see, you don't even know the map of Nigeria.
Because for the map of Nigeria.
You have the north up here. You have the southwest here. Are you following me? Okay, you have the southeast down here. And south. Then you have the north central just around here. you have middle belt here too. We have the north east to this side. And more like that. Now, I mean, there are many languages here. Then you can begin to put states. Are you following me? You can begin to put states. Do you get what I'm saying? You can begin to put states of, for example, you have Oyo State just around there. You have Osun, you have Ekiti, you have Kwara up here. Okay? And it goes down on Go and everything, then you move up to Kogi and FCT and goes on like that. Right. Now, in all those places, there are different languages that you have in the community. Are you following what I'm saying? Different languages that are spoken there. Right. Different languages. So many languages that are numerous. Okay? So many Nigerian languages. But what this course applies is information on the language. You must be able to know at least that there are so many languages in Nigeria. So that you will not think that all of, I was talking to someone that went to camp recently. Akwa Ibom. So the parents were saying that Ara Ile Igbo. I said they don't speak Igbo in Akwa Ibom. Are you following me? They don't speak Igbo in what? In Akwa Ibom. I don't know the language they speak. They speak Ibibio, they speak Anani. Are you following me? Those are the language they speak there. They speak Uru and so many other languages like that in Akwa Ibom. Do you get what I'm saying? So, many people have a wrong notion. Once you talk about North, what do you think? You think that they are all what? Hausa, but it's in the northern part of Nigeria that you have the most languages. The northern part, the north central, the northeast, and the northwest. You have the most languages that you could talk of. Southwest is likely monolingual. Most of us speak what? Yoruba. Except you go to those states where they speak several other languages. Are you following what I'm saying? Then if you go to the southeast, they are also likely what? Monolingual. Most of them speak Igbo, different kinds of Igbo. But if you come to the south, they also have several what? Languages. Several languages. Okay, so there are many languages, so you can't just assume that everyone is what? Is Igbo, or everyone is Yoruba, or Hausa. But what is our interest? What is our interest? We should be able to know our interest. When you talk about language, what exactly is language? And what exactly is what? Dialect. That's what we are interested in, first of all. What is language? What is dialect? I've said the areas to focus on this chapter, this book to you, right? Just 5 chapters. So, those are the chapters we read. Those are where the questions are possibly going to come up from. So, now listen. Alright, so we are going to take them one after the other, and we'll see how well we can go with time. So, now language and dialect. As I treat each of the chapters, I will tell you what you should focus on each of the chapters. Right, so we are going to look at language now. Language is bigger. That is, it has more speakers than what? The dialect. Language is bigger, it has more speakers than what? The dialect. Since the language is considered to be a sum of its what? Of a dialect. If you have an umbrella, under your umbrella, you have many things. Are you following me? The umbrella is the Yoruba, called what? Yoruba language. Every other thing under it, they are dialect of what? Of Yoruba. So you could have Egba, you could have Ibadan, you could have Ijesha, you could have Ife, you have Ekiti, you have Awori, and so many other what? Dialects of what? Of Yoruba. Do you follow what I'm saying? Now, a language is some total of all what? Dialect. In other words, it's always bigger than a dialect. Now, there are some languages that are even much more bigger than some other what? Languages. Okay, so you get to know some of those details. Now, dialects are therefore considered to be subcategories of a language. Dialects are what? Subcategories of a language. Okay, so if you take English as a language, you might consider varieties such as Cockney English, Yorkshire English, Australian English, etc. are dialects of what? Of English. Even without looking at the ones that we have in the book, Standard British English is a dialect of English, Nigerian English is a dialect, American English is a dialect. All of them are what? Dialects of English. Okay? So, but even within Nigeria, we have different varieties of what? Of English. The Yoruba English is there. The Hausa English is there, right? The Igbo English is also what? It's also there. When you hear someone say, I greet you, my people. What's my way? I'm sorry. So, I mean, that's dialectal. Is it not dialectal? That's dialectal. So you can feel that what? Languages, I mean, it's there. Alright, so let's move on quickly. So also, if Yoruba is considered to be language, Ijesha, Ega, Ijebu, Ondo, Ife, Oyo, Igomina, it are all dialects of what? Yoruba. The same thing applies to Igbo. We have different dialects of Igbo. We have the Anambra, we have the Onisha, we have the Maya, we have the Olu, we have the Ungwa, we have the Afiko, and we have the Musa, we have the Oguta, we have the Anyocha, we have the Echi, we have the Egbema, we have the Oka, we have the Boni Okubu, we have the Baisi, and so many other varieties. Igbo what? Igbo dialects. So there are some, who is Igbo in this class? It's not Igbo now. That is part of what I'm talking about. It's Delta. Delta is not an Igbo land. Though we have some Delta Igbo. You speak Igbo your side. And that's like we have some Igbo side. Delta is not Igbo. Any other Igbo here? We are Igbo. Which states? Huh? Ebonyi. So you speak which variety of Igbo? You see the pronunciation of the word. Afiku is different from what I said. I said Afiku, she said Afiku. Then you see now that I don't know how to pronounce it. Say it again, let me hear it. Afiku. Do we have other people that are not Yorubas in this class? You are not Yoruba, you speak some other languages. Signify. You are not Yoruba, you speak some other languages. Huh? Is it Ukwani or Ukwari that you speak? Normal Igbo. It can't be normal Igbo. Alright, so now, so what I wanted to check before is so that you will see that not all the people that are from different parts of the parts that you think are what? Maybe Igbo or whatever. There are different places. Okay? In Edo State, there are so many languages that you can talk about. Okay? So, now, dialects are regional variations of a language. This is the definition that you should take note of under dialect. A dialect is a regional variation of a language. A dialect is a regional variation of a language. A dialect is a regional variation of a language. I mean, do you understand the definition? Do you understand? Or police or wrong? Well, that's how you have to tell us. Explain. Yeah, explain. Be practical. Okay, so you are correct. So, if you go to different regions, even of Yoruba, you find out that they speak different varieties of the same word, Yoruba. So, in other words, you are saying that the geographical distribution of a language is what you refer to as what? Dialect. When you move to one community, they speak a variety of the language. Move to another community, they speak a variety. Move to another community, they speak a different variety. That's the meaning of a dialect. Okay? Not what many of you used to think dialect is. So a dialect is not a language that has not been written down. A dialect is not, although we are going to look at some of those things. It's still part of what we used to compare language and dialect. But the general wrong notion that people have is that the dialect is just one archaic thing that people in the village used to speak. That's not enough dialect. In the Badon here, the Yoruba that you speak is what? A dialect. Are you following me? Are you following me? So, that's dialect. On the other hand, language is a unifying form that connects its various dialects. So, the language, this is language, the umbrella that connects the dialect, binds them together. Right? So that's language. The language binds the dialect together. Now, in this particular, the way the material is written, there are certain things that you should take note of that are not spelled out. And that's what I will be spending the remaining chapter of this, the main part of this chapter to talk about. They are there, but they are not properly what? Spelled out. Are you following me? Now, we distinguish between language and dialect on the basis of 4 parameters. So, Anita was asking me in part of the question, right? So, we should take note of them now. They are there in the material, but I'm going to say them properly, the way we used to distinguish them. So, the first thing is that languages are not mutually what? Intelligible. Languages are not what? Mutually intelligible. That's number 1. Whereas dialects are what? Mutually intelligible. That's number 1. Write it down. You must survive you. Languages are not what? Mutually intelligible. Whereas dialects are mutually what? Intelligible. That's number 1 way of distinguishing between a language and a dialect. What does it mean? When I speak Yoruba to an Hausa person, he might not get what I'm saying. Are you following me? That's what we mean by mutual what? Intelligibility. Let's break it down again. What's mutual? Mutual means common. Are you following me? Mutual means what? Common. Something that is common to us. Intelligible means what? Understand. Mutual means what? Common. Intelligible means what? Understand. So we are talking about common understanding. Common what? Understanding. So languages do not have common understanding. You know what many people say is that I cannot hear you. I cannot hear you. But you know, they are speaking their Yoruba English. But actually what they are trying to say is that I do not what? Understand you. So if you do not understand an Hausa, you can actually hear the person, but you do not what? Understand what the person is saying. It means that the person is speaking a language different from yours. But when an other person speaks Yoruba, you will still understand what the person says. Just that the person says it in some different ways from the way you are going to say your own Yoruba. Are you following what I'm saying? So a dialect is not mutually intelligible. I mean, language is not mutually intelligible, whereas dialects are what? Mutually intelligible. That's number 1. So in most cases, if you look at it, linguists, if you go back to the last paragraph of this chapter, you will see, I mean, of this page 6, you will see linguists have also defined speech forms which have 80% related words out of 100, as 80 cognate count as dialect of a what? Of a language. The cognate count is 70 to 80. The speech form are dialect cluster. Okay? But if it is 6 to 70, they are what? there are language clusters. If below, they tend to be what? Different what? Languages. Once you see that in a lookup place, what they are trying to say there is that if you bring together two different speech forms, Ega and Ekiti, you find out that they share similarity that is close to between 70 to what? 80. So they are dialect clusters. Then if the similarity between them is, for example, Yoruba and Ebira and Igala, they share some degree of what? Relationships. Are you following me? They share some degree of what? Relationships. Are you following me? Alright. But the relation between them is not sufficient enough for you to be able to speak or understand directly what they are saying. So they are not dialects of the same language. Do you get what I'm saying? So you call them what? Language clusters. If you hear someone speak Shekiri, you pick one of the things person saying. If you hear someone speak Igala, you pick some of the things the person is saying. Because they share certain things in common. But if you compare Hausa and Yoruba, you will not even get any what? Similarity. Except borrowed words. Such as Alubosa, Wahala and all the likes. Those ones are borrowed words. But other things, why is different from what? What's the other? What? How do they say why in Hausa? Are they the same? Not the same. So you see that they are quite different. Okay, from each other. So that's number one thing. The relation between language is about 60%, 60 to 70%. The relation between dialects is about what? 70 to what? 80%. Now, number two thing is that dialects are not standardized. They are not what? Standardized. Dialects are not what? Standardized. Dialects are not standardized. What tax is that?
First one is dialects can be regional information. And dialects also is social information.
No, we call it social left, not dialect. And I think we looked at that yesterday under 172. Okay. When you have a group of people that they are not bounded in the geography, there might just be some persons that decide to communicate in some ways. For example, educationally. Are you following what I'm saying? On the basis of education, this is the way these people talk. They belong to the same community. Are you following me? But this is the way they talk. They don't have the same degree of the spoken English as the people that are educated will use them. Are you following? That's number one. Then you could decide to create a form of language among yourself. Maybe you belong to a secret cult, then you create the language among yourself. That's a social what? A social left. I made mention of it. Okay, it wasn't your class. But let me tell you again. It wasn't your class. I was teaching a course in 272 and I talked about this and very, very sadly actually. Last week I was reading in Punch News and they arrested some kidnappers. Not kidnappers, but ritualists. They killed someone and they were questioning them. They have names for different parts of the body. Are you following? They have names for what? Different parts of the body. They asked him, what do you call edge? Okay, he was telling us what they call edge, not me. People that were interviewing. What do they call it? He said ball. I won't pay ball. So they about my book where a ball. Coco did that. Ball over there. Art, they call it transformer. Are you following? And they call it fan. Fan. So this one is sitting beside you. Told you should get told you attack. So I pay you only afford to transform. Shall I transform me? Come on. I'm serious. I mean, I read it in the news. Now, for those people, they've created a language complaint among their group. That's the social left. It's not dialect. Are you following what I'm saying now? So, the social left is not necessarily bound within a geography. It could be within a geography too, but not necessarily within a what? Geography. So that's the idea of a sociolect. Alright, so now, like I was saying before, a dialect is not what? Standardized, whereas a language is what? Standardized. A dialect is not standardized, whereas a language is what? Standardized. I'm reading the note under that number 2. In linguistic terms, dialect are said to be local, not written, less standard form, mutually intelligible, and have what? Fewer speakers. So that's everything that they put together. The 4 parameters. Put them together. But the point is that dialects are said to be what? Not what? Standard. Change the note class will be connoted. Class will.
Form date.
Okay, form. Very serious. Very serious. Alright, number 3. Okay, so I've talked about the dialect is not standardized, whereas language is what? Standardized. So for example, other dialects of Yoruba, they are not standardized, just the what? Or your variety, which is taken to be the what? The language is what? Standardized, the standard variety. Right, so now the next thing is number 3. Dialects have lower prestige. They are said to be local. They have lower prestige. They have lower prestige, whereas language has what? Higher prestige. Higher prestige. Do you know the spelling of prestige? Alright, so now the last one. The last one, 4 parameters. When you are writing it, if it comes out in your exam, because I'm not telling you to come out, but if it comes out in your exam, you must develop it. For example, you must be able to tell us examples. Language that has higher prestige, and if dialects that has lower prestige, you must be able to talk about that. You cannot just write one line. Dialect has this and this. You have to develop that. Now the next one is that dialects have fewer what? Number of what? Of speakers, whereas language has what? It has larger number of what? Of speakers. Dialect have fewer number of speakers, whereas language has what? Higher number of what? Of speakers. Okay.
So why is that dialect? It's not dialect that come together to form it now.
I'm questioning you and me like, it's like we can find out back up. I know she's asking why dialects have fewer, but we are dealing with a single dialect versus a single language. A single dialect we have fewer speakers, but all the dialects together will make up the language. So it cannot have fewer the same thing. So that cup of gari is it not still gari? But 1 cup is equal to 1 dialect. Everything together make up what? The cocoa of gari. So you are now asking why is 1 cup of gari not the same thing as 1 cup of gari? Because they are not the same. You put 1 block down to the low TV, but when you put all the blocks together, you form what? The house or building or whatever it is. You still call everything house, but each of the sections make up the dialect or the building block of the house. Alright, so now that's not about language and dialect. You must be able to explain them. Are you following? You must be able to explain them. You must be able to give examples of the concept. So, next topic, a survey of linguistic situation in Nigeria. Now this topic is very important for this course. This topic is what? Very important for this course. Because this is actually why you are talking about languages of Nigeria. Are you following me? Survey of linguistic situation. But first of all, let me explain the meaning of linguistic situation. Because I ask students this question, and sometimes students they make certain mistakes. Let's first of all understand what like linguistic situation. About 4 or 5 things make up what we talk about linguistic situation. I'm going to explain them, not list them. Let's say I asked to talk about linguistic situation. We must first of all be able to talk about the place. For example, talk about linguistic situation of your state. Are you following me? Your state is what? Is a state in Nigeria, right? Right? I belong to the southwestern part. Are you following me? The next thing I want to talk about is the language. Now, linguistic means what? Language. I want to tell us that in your state, they have just one word, language, which is what? Yoruba. Are you following me? That's part of the things we want to talk about. So in other words, your state is a monolingual community. It's not what? Multilingual. It has just one first language. First language means native or indigenous language. There are other people in Oyo State, but the first language that we have in Oyo State is what? Yoruba. No other first language. Just Yoruba. Now part of the other thing we want to talk about is the use of those language. Or the use of language in the state. So now you want to talk about English. Are you following me? So you want to say that English is a language that is used in what? It's used in Oyo State for official what? Purposes. Whereas the Yoruba language, which is supposed to be the mother tongue, is relegated to what? It's relegated to the home settings. Are you following me? Where do they use Yoruba? At home. That's the meaning of linguistic situation of a state.
Of a state.
If it's a state that has up to 4 or 5 languages, you have to say that it is what? Multi-lingual. Then you tell us some of the use of those languages. Right? It's used at home, it's used in the church, it's used in this and that. That's the meaning of lingual situation. So it's very, very important that you must be able to talk about it. Very, very important. But now we have a country that has 36 states and the FCT. So we want to look at the linguistic situation in Nigeria. Now, Nigeria is a multilingual nation. Are you seeing it? It's what? Lingual. What does it mean? It has many what? Languages. It has many languages. Right, so Nigeria is a multilingual nation that has an astonishing number of languages and linguists. Up to this moment, cannot give a precise figure of the languages in what? In Nigeria. If you go to the ethnologue on Nigerian language, you are going to see the languages up of the ethnologue. If you check online, ethnologue, you might not be able to access each of the languages again. In the past, you can access them freely, but now you have to pay for them. But you can still see the list. What you could love in ethnologue of Nigerian languages. You will see so many languages in Nigeria that we have. Right. The diversity in population gives rise to the diversity of what? Of language. According to the SIL's ethnologue of Nigerian languages of the world, the population of Nigeria is about what? 141. Now this book was written a while ago. some time ago. Now we are 200 million plus. Are you following me? So if you are talking about linguistic situations, when you are writing, if this were to be a question you are asked, you must say that Nigeria is about what? 200 million. About 141 million. My husband paid. She was golden days. Adi? That's the assumption. That you are still doing. Madam, you are sleeping.
So I thought that in the situation, we were saying that we were saying about this
Come back to what So, now listen again. We have about what? 200 million. So, when you talk about linguistation in Nigeria, you must be able to mention the population. You don't have to mention the exact population, but you must be able to make what? An estimation. Because no one actually knows. For example, right now as I'm talking, some persons are giving birth, some persons are dying. Are you following me? In Nigeria, even in Oyo State, some persons are giving birth right now, some persons are what? Are dying. So you can't actually say the number of what? Of the people that we have in Nigeria. Tutu, you are sleeping. Okay. So, now there are about 527 languages in Nigeria, and out of which 514 are what? Are living languages. This is what you must be able to say. The first thing I started with was what? Nigeria is what? Multilingual. And the next thing that I said is that when you say multilingual, you must explain what it means. It has several languages with several what? Cultures. And the next thing is that it has up to 200 million what? People or speakers in that we have in Nigeria. And the next thing is that you must be able to tell us the number of languages that we have. When you are dealing with linguistic situation, you should talk about the languages that are there. We have about 527 languages in Nigeria. Now, if you look at the material, 514 are what? Are living languages. 2 are second language without mother tongue speaker, and 11 have no what? Have no known what? Speakers. No known what? Speakers. Now, if you look at it, 514 are living. 2 are what? So what it means is that 2 persons, they speak their own language, but they can still speak some other what? Language. It means that the original owners of those languages are dead. So some persons just speak it as second what? Language. What the language is down, but they also speak those 2 languages as what? Second language. Do you get what I'm saying? So, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Guy, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? What did I say? I said, aside from the 514 languages that have their own native speakers, there are some other 2 languages that does not have, that do not have native speakers. What they have are second language or speakers. And these other persons that have their own native language, but also speak those 2 what? Languages as their own second language. So the speakers of those languages are dead. The original owners are what? Are dead. Right? Now, 11 have no what? No non-speakers. So it means that those languages are extinct. They are what? Extinct. If you go online and you search extinct language in Nigeria, you will see the list will come out. Are you following me? About 11 of them. I can remember 3. So let me write the ones I remember for you. There are two Basa. There is one Basa spoken in Kogi State. I think now it's Basa Ungun, but there is another Basa. Huh?
That's your
Teshenawa. But if you search, you'll be able to see there is one Basa. But if you search online, you see them. You must know at least 5 of them. You must know at least 5 of
So
them.
is this deal?
What? Ayawa.
It's the last.
Awuyo.
This the second one there.
This one.
Yes.
AJAWA. AJAWA. So you have written it down. You saw it online. Ah, it will on my serious part. Oh, the Maweju. Ah? On copy and it don't go online. So if you check the online, you see some of them. You should know at least 5 of them. In case I ask you. Yes, extinct languages. So the government the I said you should know the difference between language and what? Dialect. That's number 1. Number 2, note what we mean by linguistic situation. That's number 2 thing. Number 3 thing, note what we mean by what? You are able to mention at least 5 words. Extinct language. Not be pay number 5 that one of the work or online. You can't express it really around. Alright, so alright, so let's read on please. Nigeria is not only the most populous country in Africa, but it's also one of the countries with the highest linguistic diversity. Hello? Nigeria is not only the most populous country, because Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa, but also it is the country with the highest linguistic diversity. We have many languages in Nigeria. It is largely a multilingual country with languages of unequal social, official, and educational status. Now, what does this mean? When you are asking or responding to question on the linguistic situation in Nigeria, you must be able to say, are you following me? And not just question. If anyone asks you in life, the language that we have in Nigeria, there are some of them that have up to 40 million speakers, such as Yoruba, such as Hausa, whereas there are some that have just 100 speakers. Are you following me? There are some that have just 10 speakers. So you see that the languages are not equally distributed. Are you following me? That's part of the linguistic situation. Are the languages equally distributed? Are they not equally distributed? Are you following me? What are the things that I've said under the situation? Listen, the first thing I said is that multilingual, right? Population, is it multilingual or not multilingual? What's the population? What are the number of languages? What is the use of those languages? That's another thing you must take note of. Are you following me? Now, another thing that I just said now is that are the languages equally distributed among the population? If you have 20 million people and you have 20 languages in the country, do you have 1 million speakers per language? Or just one language is spoken by 50 million and the remaining 19 persons are distributing 5 million languages, 1 million languages people. Are you following me? That's very, very important. Now let's move on to categories of languages in Nigeria. What are the categories of languages in Nigeria? Categories of languages in Nigeria. Number 1, we have major language. Now, what are the major languages in Nigeria? We have Yoruba, Igbo, and what? And Hausa. These are languages that have millions of what? Of speakers. Then the next one is what? Main language. And the next one is what? Small group what? Languages. Now the main languages are the ones that have at least 1 million what? Speakers. Are you following me? Major languages are the ones that have at least, let's say, 10 million. In tens of millions. In tens of what? Of millions. Hausa has almost 40 to 50. Yoruba has almost 30 to 40. Igbo has almost 20 to what? To 30 speakers. Are you following me? So, major languages are the ones that have higher number of what? Of speakers. You are sleeping. Main languages are the ones that have what? That have what? They are developing language used in medium of instruction in primary, pre-primary, and lower secondary school rather. Speakers have a laissez-faire attitude towards the language and give their children names from the world, major languages. So they have at least 1 million speakers. Examples of those languages, let me give you examples. They are the ones under option B. Are you seeing option B in Millionaire? Examples of them are what? Edo, Efik, Fufude, Idoma, Igala, Ijo, Kanuri. Those are examples of what? Main what? Languages. Those are examples of what? Main languages. Now the last one is small group languages. These are underdeveloped or undeveloped what? Languages. These ones, they don't have up to million speakers. Some of them might even be 10 speakers. Some of them might be 100, some of them might be 1,000. Examples of them, Koma and Bade. They are so many, but even they are the most in Nigeria, but I'm just going to mention two. So you can skip the Millionaire. They are saying the same thing. Are you following me? The Millionaire is same thing as what? Major. Millionaire is same thing as main. Minor is same thing as what? Small group language. Are you following me? So you can skip. If I'm going to ask you, I'm not going to mention the Millionaire. I'm going to mention major, main, and what? And small group, or I say minor. But I'm not going to say the Millionaire. That's not linguistic term. The Millionaire is not linguistic term. I can either say discuss main, major, minor, and minority what? Languages. So major will be what? The Hausa, Igbo, and what? Yoruba. Minor will be Edo, Efik, Ibibio, and the like. Then minority will be ones that those small languages that you can think of being many of all those small languages. Right, so now the next thing that I want to talk about is the index of constitutional legitimacy. The index of constitutional legitimacy will divide the language into constitutionally recognized official language. This is another thing about linguistic situation. Languages of government as recognized by various constitutions and acts of the states and national assemblies. Which of the language do we have in our constitution? We have Hausa, Igbo, and what? And Yoruba in the constitution. Official languages are recognized by public governments. So what are the other languages that we have in Nigeria aside from Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba? We have French. Are you following me? You don't have to write, if we are discussing, you don't have to write it like this. The things that I actually want is that you must be able to mention, for example, that we have major, minor, and minority languages. As languages that have higher number of speakers, millions, 10 millions, and not the like. You have ones that have just about 1 million to 2 million, 3 million, but not up to 10 million. And you have ones that have thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even 10 or less than that. Then aside from indigenous language in Nigeria, there are some other languages that we also speak. What are those languages? English. English is not indigenous. Are you following me? French. Are you following me? Those are languages that we have. What is the function of French in Nigeria? Anyone? What's the function of French? French is used to relate with our neighbors. Who are our neighbors? Who are they? Who are mentioning them? Benin, Niger, those countries that are francophone. We use French to what? To relate to them. That's the primary function of French in Nigeria. It's a diplomatic what? Language. But what of English? What's the function of English? It has several functions. It's the official language in Nigeria. It's a restricted lingua franca. It's used in education. It's used in several places. Are you following? All these are part of the linguistic situation in what? In Nigeria. So that's that about the linguistic situation in Nigeria. Number next, language endangerment. Language endangerment. Language endangerment. Now, what led to language endangerment? We have a situation in which I'm going to explain it to you, then we'll try to do. We have 200 million people in Nigeria. Hausa takes 50 million, Yoruba takes 40, Igbo takes 20 million. Are you following me? Or 30 million? Because she's already angry because I said 20 now. So you see that that's what? 100 and what? And 20 what? Million. Are you following me? Now, the remaining are what? 80 million what? People. Now, the remaining 80 million people will what? We share 500 and what? 511 what? Languages. And there are even still some out of the 511 languages that has 2-3 million speakers. Are you following me? So largely we have just about 500 languages that need to be shared among 40 million what? People. Are you following me? That is why some persons they don't have more than maybe 100 people that speak the what? That speak the language. Now when you have such kind of situation and those people need to relate with the outside community, what language do they speak? You can't be speaking their language. You want to live with outside people, you expect them to learn your language. No. It's you that will learn their what? Their language. Now what happens is that, for example, in northern part of Nigeria, this part of Nigeria, there are so many languages there. But the language they use primarily is what? Hausa. And when that happens, the languages that are there, the other language become what? Endangered. What is the meaning of endangered? They are going towards what? Extinction. They are going towards extinction. Because the owners of the language no longer what? Speak the language. No owners of language no longer speak the language. We talked about this yesterday in 172 class. English is an imperial what? Language. English is used in government. English is used in what? Commerce and industry. It's used in entertainment. It's used in judiciary. It's used in virtually all domains. So all other languages have been restricted to what? To home setting. Are you following what I'm saying? So it makes our languages to be what? Endangered. That's part of the situation of our language. That's what we mean by the linguistic situation. It's part of it. So, what is language endangerment? A language is endangered when it is on the path towards what? Extinction. A language is endangered when speakers cease to use it. That's number one. Use it in an increasingly reduced number of communicative domains. What that means is that you use it just at home or in the market. You don't use it in school, you don't use it and that's it. And the next thing is what? You cease to pass it from one generation to what? To the next. How many of you speak your indigenous language at home? That's how you speak. Only 3 people. Only 2 persons. So in your cook, English and Arabic complicates. I don't mind speak in tongues. What do you speak at home? Oh, what questions are there? Say, how many of you speak your indigenous language at home? Okay, let me put it this way. How many of you do not speak your indigenous language? at home. Your parents don't talk to you in your indigenous language. You should not even raise your hand because you don't even understand you speak English. Or what do you speak? Which was the language? Yeah? Anundo. But what do you now, how do you communicate to them? I said, okay, how do they communicate to you? Is it English that they speak or Yoruba? Yoruba. Okay. I mean people that they don't speak Yoruba to them. That basically what they speak to them is either English or French. Huh? They are not. Okay. You are wrong anyway. Because there are some people that they do not speak. They are in another language. Are you following? What they speak to them is basically English. Some people will not even take their children to places where they teach indigenous language in schools. They will withdraw them from the school because of Yoruba. Are you following? So when these kind of things happen, the language is what? So language is endangered when it's on the path of extinction. Speakers cease to use it, use an increasingly reduced number, and cease to pass it from one generation to another generation. There are no new speakers, either adults or what? Or children. According to Blanche, endangered languages are referred to as declining and what? Moribund. Declining or what? Moribund. Not moribund, moribund. These languages have few what? Viable speakers and are not being passed on to their younger generation. Now, one of the things that you need to take note of, look at the last paragraph, second to last paragraph on that page. Language endangerment may be as a result of external factors, number one, such as military, economic, religious, cultural, or educational subjugation. What this means is that the government can say, you people should not speak this language again. Or they enforce a language that is made by decree that this is the language you will be speaking. So it makes people not speak their own language again. If you look at the policy that was employed in France, if you did some government, I did some government in secondary school, so I still remember what I did. You have what referred to as policy of assimilation. Are you following me? What they did is that you have to become a French citizen when you are still in black land. So you abandon your own language and become French citizen. Part of it means that you start speaking what? French. But in Nigeria, they didn't enforce that. We had indirect rule. So you still be speaking your language, but when you want to do official whatever, you learn to speak what? English. Are you following what I'm saying? So it's very, very important that you take note of. So when there is a decree that says stop speaking your language, it makes people to abandon their language. The image that is stopping me. I don't know your problem. You are talking as if I don't know. Who am I? Also, alright, let's continue. Economic reason. That's another thing that I need to work. If you have to leave your village and you come to, that's what is happening in the villages. They are leaving the village, coming to what? Urban area. Right? Because the urban area has developed and people want better life for themselves. They come to greener pastures to make ends meet. So that's now religion. You could leave a language because of religion. You see that 170 and 152 they are related. Then cultural or what? Educational was subjugation. Okay? Education can make you abandon your language. For example, I'm teaching you now in English language. Right, so some persons will not understand Yoruba. Yeah? Some person will not understand. So, for example, what's your name? Victoria, she won't understand. So it will also be caused by external factors. Now, how can endangered languages be saved? How can they be saved? Number one, that is the way to be saved. Basic linguistic and pedagogical training. By providing language teachers with training in basic linguistics, language teaching methods and techniques, curriculum development and teaching material development. So you can save a language by training people to what? To teach the language. You can save a language by training people to teach the language. We are developing curriculum, we are developing like Yoruba is being taught in school. We are saving the language, providing the language teachers with training in basic linguistics and teach the language. The second thing is sustainable development in literacy and local what? Documentation. You must be able to document what? The language. Some languages will eventually die, no matter what happens. But what's going to be good is that we should document the language before they what? They die. So that we can still make reference to them. Are you getting the point? Now the next thing is supporting and developing national language policy. Should develop national language policy. The next thing is supporting and developing what? Educational policy. You might read this part on your own, they are not my focus. Now the one that is my focus is language death. Language death. When you have language endangerment, something is going to happen eventually, which is what? Language death. Now in 172 class, I told you that there is a difference between language death and language extinction. For those of you that didn't do 172, I'm going to repeat it so that you can get the difference. So that when you are giving the definition, you will not get it wrong. Are you following me? Now, language death has to do with a situation in which a language has no known what? Speakers. No known what? Speakers. But it has resources that can be used what? To resuscitate a language. That's what? Language death. A language has no known speakers, but it has resources that could be used to what? Resuscitate the language. That's language death. What of language extinction? Now, before we want language extinction, examples of dead languages is what? Latin and Greek. Latin and what? And Greek. I mean classical Greek now because there's some form of Greek in Greece. But the classical Greek and Latin are what? Are dead languages. Now, what of language extinction? The language is extinct when it has no known speakers and no what? Available resources. No known speakers and no available what? Resources. No known speakers and no available what? Resources to resuscitate the what? The language.
Those resources, how can they be resources?
There are people that are using Latin in Catholic Church. Are you following me? They are not speakers of the language, but some persons have kept it in a documented form. They are passing down orally. Those people that are even using it, the fathers and the the light, they do not speak it on the normal day. They don't use it for proper communication, but they use it for selling purposes. Now, there are people that are also studying the language for linguistic studies. If what I'm saying. Now, if, for example, in the future, you want to bring language back to life, you can start training little children to speak the language. So they will train 2 little children, they will bring them together, or maybe some 10 children or whatever. That's what they will use to bring them up. Those ones they will start learning, come, go, this, that. That's what they will be saying to themselves. Are you from? So there will be new development in the language, because not all the old, not all the words that you add then in Latin will be able to cater for what you have in today's world. For example, there was no word for computer then in Latin, but you have to create words for it. So the little children will create that, they will develop a new form of Latin. So that is how language is developed. Are you following what I'm saying? And when you talk about resources, resources is not always written. It will also be what? Spoken. For example, my recordings on the language that I gathered, they were spoken. So people that will learn the language, they will watch the videos, or they listen to the audio, head. They will pick it. Are you following me? Yeah. Yes. They will pick it like that. That's, are you getting the gist that I'm saying? So that's the idea of a language being dead, but it can be what? Resuscitated. We will learn it. But once the language is extinct, you don't have information that you can even use to develop the language again, or to study the language. Now, we have just about 30 something minutes left. So let me change the battery. So it's very important that, because some persons okay.